This is the Eye for an Eye channel. Welcome to today's show. One of the themes I've been talking about over the years has been adults behaving as children. This is something that's done by design in a communist government. The adults begin acting and behaving like children, and the children begin acting and behaving like adults. This is for multiple reasons, of course. If you want to tie in the satanic aspect of it, where these wicked people start making children presentable as adults, telling us that they're smarter than adults, they are more mature than adults. Of course, this all leads to the age limitations and age restrictions being lifted because children have progressed so much. In reality, they're really regressing, but progressed so much to the point with technology that 8-year-olds are now equivalent to 20-year-olds thinking-wise, and then, of course, they can normalize their perversion even more. But in a communist society, men no longer behave as men. Women no longer behave as women. And adults start behaving ultimately like children. It's a very important theme to understand why this is happening, why YouTube on trending always promotes adults doing childlike things, whether it's a stupid stunt like, Mr. Beast or any of these guys doing stupid things where adults are like taking baths and cheese puffs and how many of this can they do or that. And it's very childlike. Or even if it's something like being promoted, adults playing video games, PewDiePie, etc., or adults buying things from their past. Now, psychologically, this is a massive regression, a popular but frequently forgotten defense mechanism of regression. When things get difficult and a person feels vulnerable, defense mechanisms kick in as a way of self-preservation. Regression is a return to childlike behavior as a way to avoid adult-like reality and responsibility. This is basic psychology, right? A return to childlike behavior is a way to avoid adult-like reality. So look at what we're dealing with now, right? If you're not paying attention and you're avoiding what's going on, you're regressing because our society is regressing. Our society is headed towards hell on earth. They are normalizing some of the most sick and ridiculously twisted acts you could possibly imagine. They are telling us that men can have babies. They are literally flipping our society on its head. And what do we see the alt-right media, the alt-left media doing? Bickering with one another over these things. In reality, in a real society, a functioning society, the men would have acted like men and a revolution would have occurred by now. Now, what we see going on are things like this. McDonald's is now coming out with an adult Happy Meal. And of course, the problem is that the mindset of these people, when they even hear someone like me cover it, is they defend it. And they go, you're being a little ridiculous, okay? It's an adult Happy Meal for kids. What's the difference if they're going to get their McDonald's burger, almost called it a fetus burger, which is what it really is. What's the difference if they get a kid little toy as well and they want to relive their past? Because this is the problem that we're facing. This is why it's becoming more and more normal. Adults don't even realize why psychologically they want to collect some of the toys that they used to have, why they want to go play video games they used to play. And I'm not making fun of people who are going through this because I understand a lot of you on my channel, you're like, well, I like to play video games still. It makes me escape from reality, blah, blah, blah. But the problem is that we have to face reality. Sometimes adults have to be adults and face the horror that's going on around us. That's how this has been allowed to happen now. Because in other time periods, they've tried to do this, and they didn't obviously have the psychological tools that they have now to manipulate and do these types of things to people. But always men would rise up against it. So here's a look, because whenever you hear something on the news, realize that they want to put it there because they want a seed plant. This isn't about marketing and making money. The mainstream media is promoting the McDonald's Happy Meal, and all the affiliate ones are. Why? Because they want to get this message out to adults out there to go and act like children more, because things are going to get worse in our society. So as long as the adults continue to behave like children, nothing is ever going to be solved and no revolution will ever occur. Here's the clips of the adult Happy Meal.
These other ones are Happy Meals, but for adults?
Yes, for the big kids here.
Come on in, Mike, again.
Some of you guys might remember. Yes,
busy.
so McDonald's starting on December 11th is offering this adult Happy Meal, which is
I love this idea because I always order the kids Happy Meal if I ever go to McDonald's.
Oh, do you? Is it because of the size or because of the toy?
Because of the size.
Yes, it's like
yeah.
You can get a Big Mac or a 10-piece chicken nugget with your fries and also a soft drink starting on December 11th. But the fun part is that you get these modern takes on these McNugget buddies Buddies, which was a really popular toy in Happy Meals in the 80s and 90s.
I remember these.
Yes, and so now there's a new take that Kerwin Frost, who's a popular DJ and street style connoisseur, he redid these McNugget Buddies. And so now, if you're a big kid at heart,
That's so
you get a little toy with your McDonald's. So I
love that.
Well, McDonald's is bringing back the adult Happy Meal, and it comes with toys.
The McNugget Buddies, you may remember, are back for the first time in 25 years. The company partnered with creative director and DJ Kerwin Frost to design the adult version of the Happy Meal. A Kerwin Frost box comes with either a 10-piece chicken McNuggets or a Big Mac, fries, a drink, and a toy. You can start ordering the Kerwin Frost box on December 11th.
So you have the adult Happy Meal being promoted. It's being promoted probably by what appears to be Freemasonic Prince Hall, Freemason Kerwin Frost, who is the guy who's, promoting this thing. And again, I like to turn to scripture because even something like this, while this is part of the Communist Manifesto of how, to take the children, corrupt the children at a young age, create a cult of personality with them. The same is said with adults and turning them and regressing them and their progression as human beings, right? But the Bible actually speaks about this. In 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 11, when I was a child, I spake as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. That is biblical, okay? That is the Bible telling you that when you become a man, you put away childish things. And that goes for a lot of bad habits that a lot of us have as human beings. But it mainly goes to even show you today's society, because not only are men not acting as men, they're actually acting as children, not just putting away childish things. They're buying and trying to recreate their childhood as adults. This is where the problem within lies. And this is why they are using the media, etc., to promote this type of behavior, because they know psychologically it's a regression, right? They know that a return to childlike behavior is a way to avoid an adult-like reality. And if anybody out there doesn't want to face this reality, I can understand. You think it's fun for me to cover this stuff every day? I mean, I see a lot of the comments and people are like, you're so negative and all this stuff, and they get mad at me because, the Bible talks about things like this specific verse, right? But you don't hear maybe you'll hear a minister talk about it, I don't know. But they're always talking in positivity. There's so much negative that's going on in the world that people can wake up and see through a lot of these types of things, but you don't connect the dots with these stories, right? You don't realize, McDonald's is just having a Happy Meal for adults, and you just go, whatever, what's the big deal? It is a big deal, because you give them an inch, they take a mile. And then you start seeing it with everything, right? How many adults do we see collecting all their childhood toys again, trending on YouTube? Adults playing video games around the clock on YouTube. And again, this isn't me trying to say to anyone out there that does that, I'm not trying to make fun of you, I'm not trying to hurt your feelings. Not that I would really necessarily care, because feelings are feelings. I mean, people need to, be men and not really have their feelings hurt. But that's part of how society has been groomed. Unfortunately, our generations are really just a result of our parents' generation, which pushed a lot of that stuff onto us with therapy and emotions and and it's not bad to have emotions. It's not bad to cry or feel certain ways, but it is bad to act as a child when you're an adult. It is bad to have your feelings hurt. If even I'm talking about this, it hurts your feelings. We all have to get over this stuff. We have to realize that they're strategically doing this by design in our society. Every single thing that they're doing is a way to weaken our society, to bring in a communist society, maturing children, and then taking adults and turning them into kids. There will be no revolution if the behavior continues the way that it's going. And that's exactly what they're trying to make sure does not happen. Because again, if we all sat and we looked at what they're doing, men would rise up and do something against this. Men would fight against this. But they're not, right? They're looking to their fake political heroes that they think are going to pull them out of this, like Donald Trump, et cetera, instead of turning to God and looking at his word and heeding his warnings. And even things like 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 11 again. When I was a child, I spake as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. That's what we all need to be doing and what all men should be doing. Let me just harp on this article again, or these stories again about the McDonald's Happy Meal, and listen to how they're promoting this and how they're using mind control to get adults on board with this, which most adults should be like, why would I go and get a toy? They're like, not only are you getting a Happy Meal, you get your little toy for the adult. And they're like, and it's one of my toys from my past. Oh, have you noticed how that's like trending now? And they're like, yeah, it's trending to go retro. It's trending to go retro because they're making adults regress. This is basic psychology for anyone out there that's wondering what I'm saying. basic psychology. Like if you took psychology or read a book on psychology, this type of behavior, this is a regression as a human being, going back to child, because you're avoiding the current world. You're avoiding reality. So you're turning to childlike things. Again, they've normalized stuff like adult babies I've covered in the past, which to me is like one of the funniest things I've ever seen. I'm talking about adult babies, like guys who dress up in diapers and stuff and relive themselves as a baby. I just think, to me, my sense of humor, it's like, I can't stop laughing when I see stuff like that. As embarrassing as it is, to me, it's just it's hilarious. We put up with it. And on top of that, the adult babies that dress up as babies are living on disability on our tax money. So it's funny, but it's not. You know what I mean? So anyway, adults are going to be loving this news. Happy Meals for the 18 and up are back at McDonald's, complete with collectible toys to cater to the patrons' nostalgia. That's another thing, nostalgia retro. The fast food giant promises a childlike joy. The company's prying open the Hallmark red and yellow Happy Meal box and unearthing a collectible toy under the rubble of rogue French fries and grease. And after last year's McDonald's X Cactus Plant Flea Market collab frenzy, it's obvious that the eagerness doesn't dim with age, and this year the Golden Arches are welcoming back fans of all ages once more, said the company's Chief Marketing and Customer Experience Officer, Tariq Hassan. Fans told us they wanted to celebrate the quintessential childhood experience again. Okay, now we know that no fans are really saying that, but they're promoting this type of thing. They're promoting it subtly, and they have been for quite some time. Now adults are acting on that, and then if you actually, of course, because this is basic too with the psychology, if you actually question them on it, they're very defensive. They put up a wall, and they say, you're not, you're being mean, or you don't understand, or, oh, it's just fun. What are you, the fun police? So when your basic thinking as an adult is to regress and go back to things that made you happy as a kid, then you end up staying in this trap. And then, of course, you comply and you go with whatever they say, because as long as you can avoid the reality we're in and avoid conflict and go act like a child, then the government gets what they want, which is total control. This is how they implement all the things that they've been implementing, that they have been implementing and continue to implement. It's a very dangerous thing, but people don't realize that. They think it's a fun thing. Right? So you think these people, these adults who are going back getting their Happy Meals and collecting their Ninja Turtles and Power Ranger toys, do you think that when push comes to shove that they're going to side with the government, or are they going to revolt against the government? As long as they have these things and the government plans of the New World Order, these people are going to be able to have their little allowances, stay inside of their prison cell homes, wherever they are, institutionalized at, and they're still going to have their little toys. They want them to have these things, because they want them to continue to behave that way. So these people will be fine if they have their nostalgia and they have their little things that they like to do, whether it's playing video games, to escape reality, because they'll never end up facing reality. For those of us who are facing reality, for those of us like me, and a lot of the men out there that listen to this channel who are real men, I can attest to that from reading the comments of a lot of the men out there who are real men who listen, and a lot of the women who are real women. And a lot of you, too, are new to the channel and just starting to wake up. You have to realize that every single thing that they do and they put out there is a part of a herding mechanism. It doesn't make the news. It doesn't get promoted. It doesn't get normalized. Celebrities don't endorse it unless it's part of a way to groom and herd your behavior. It's about behavioral control. Think no further of how they tell us, oh, this is the latest fashion trend, or this is the latest thing. It's a herding mechanism. Nobody, all of a sudden, they're like, oh, it's trending. They try to use these deceitful tactics to make you think everybody's on board. It's the way that they're hurting you. And a lot of the times it's been trial and error to see how they could get you to do what they want you to do through a lot of these different mechanisms. And now they have it mastered. So now they know they could just even put stuff like this out there, and they know you'll defend this. They know that people out there will come here and criticize me, because that's how they've trained them to behave, to defend the system, to defend this type of stuff. And this is why we're in the situation that we're in. Even something as small, which isn't really, as McDonald's bringing back Happy Meals for adults and promoting it. And of course, they don't want to mention what's in those McNugget buddies anyway. Those little living baby McNugget buddies, right? Wonder what the meat is in there. That's another story for another day. Probably stuff I'll cover more on the website. And again, if you haven't joined the website, I highly recommend that you do. If you are starting to wake up to this stuff and you are a new subscriber, definitely consider joining the website, Uprising Revival. I guarantee you that it will help your awakening process speed up, and it'll be a lot clearer. You won't have to weed through misinformation, which I even hate to say a word. You won't have to weed through to try to find stuff. I should say weed through misinformation that'll show up in a Google search or whatever, DuckDuckGo search first, where you're trying to research a lot of these events in history that aren't what they claim to be. You'll be able to find all that kind of stuff out about a real history of the world over on the website Uprising Revival. A reminder as well, please make sure you're subbed to my other two channels linked below. I am uploading on United Uprising as well as a Call for Vengeance. Those are linked below. I'm probably going to end up doing a live stream over on those channels, so make sure you're subbed if you want to interact. We could, answer some questions. I don't really like to do that because I don't like to sound like I'm answering questions like you should be coming to me for any kind of a guidance, but we could just interact as friends or whatever, just talk. So that'll be on the other channels in the near future, so make sure you're subbed. I thank you for being here. Hope you're all well. God bless you as always and your families.